The story begins focusing on a quote which says, "Death form evaluates life. Some enter coffins, some enter urns, but who evaluated the life of the main character, and what kind of life did he lead, is a question that is yet to be answered." After that, we get to find out that some people are standing in a boat talking, and they seem to belong to some gang, and the one who seemed to be their leader is lighting up his cigarette and asking them how many urns were there in total. In reply, one of them said there were 33 urns. So the leader told them to finish the job before the sunrise. Those guys responded by saying yes to the leader, after which they then can be seen putting some sort of white powder in those urns. After that, the scene shifts into a flashback where the leader of the agency of our main character, Kim Soo-hyuk, is giving him a new mission. There, the leader informs Soo-hyuk of the target, a lady who is commonly known as Snow White. Soo-hyuk raises his hand before putting forward the question of why is the woman called Snow White. After all, she is not even Caucasian. Soo-hyuk further goes on to add that the girl looks like your average Asian lady, and she is not even that strong by the looks of it. The leader replies to this by stating that gender and race cannot quite define the capabilities of this woman, and that she is quite dangerous contrary to her looks. She is commonly known as Snow White, but her full name is Anna Nanayama. Snow White is known to be the leader of the Yakuza. After that, he further adds that the reason Anna is called Snow White is because she is the main supplier of the pure cocaine, and that this is the reason behind her alias, Snow White. After letting Soo-hyuk know about her, the leader then further lets him know about very important information, that the target is scheduled to hold a drug party at a hotel, and also adds that the security of the party is going to be minimal, so that opportunity must be used to eliminate her, and that's how they could prevent the illegal drug abuse domestically. Another thing that they have to do is that they will have to disguise this conflict as an organization conflict. Then they further go on to say that arms are not permitted at this mission, so it might seem to him that this mission is a bit too rough, so that actually was the main reason that they have assigned Soo-hyuk, who indeed is their top agent. Following this, they also said that they only trust Soo-hyuk, their very own team leader, in which Soo-hyuk says that they shouldn't worry about this mission, and that they should just leave it to Soo-hyuk. Afterward, the senior officers elaborate that there will be 20 plus combatants estimated to be there, and approximately 10 non-combatants needs to be eliminated. So the senior agents ask Soo-hyuk that, how many agents does he need for the entry? In response to that, Soo-hyuk says 3 agents are needed, including himself. But to the higher authority, this number seems to be too much. But Soo-hyuk says to them that the building has 3 exits, so it would be hard for him if there are any less than 3 people, because at the end of the day, it's an extermination operation, after all. And Soo-hyuk also adds that the people he is choosing for this operation are not just agents, they are like his brothers. So it really doesn't matter how many Yakuza are going to be there, he thinks that no one can defeat him and his brothers. After that, the scene changes, and we get to see Soo-hyuk is in the elevator, and as he came out of the elevator, he says in his mouthpiece that Alpha, entering. As soon as the Yakuza saw Soo-hyuk on the floor, they got angry, and they said to him that, what the hell is he doing there, and that he can't be at that place. Soo-hyuk then pulls his knife out, and started charging towards them, but the Yakuzas are no match for Soo-hyuk in skills, speed, or strength, so one by one he takes out all those guys. On the other hand, the other 2 agents, who calls Soo-hyuk brothers, also did the same, and so far it was way too easy for Soo-hyuk and his fellow agents. After taking care of all those people, Soo-hyuk orders his fellow agents to approach the main target, Snow White. He further adds that they should all be under the influence of drugs, so it should be even easier for them to take out the infamous Snow White. Before entering Snow White's room, Soo-hyuk says to his fellow agents, there is only one exit there, and they now should just block the exit and finish them all. Soo-hyuk and his fellow agents proceed to enter the room, and upon entering the room, they were absolutely shocked to see that the people they wanted to finish off were already laid off. Soo-hyuk's agents were stunned, and they asked what just happened there. Soo-hyuk subsequently told them to find the target, but first they should lock the entrance, so that no one can enter the room. But suddenly the lights went off, and they figure out that someone is standing at the door. All of a sudden, the light was on, and they saw the door was closed, and the entrance was locked as they wanted, and they saw Snow White was standing in front of them. Suyuk and his people were flabbergasted to see Snow White standing over the lifeless bodies. They then thought that, they used to think that they were the strongest, but now it feels to them that they now are going to face their end. Afterward, we see that, Snow White looks at them, and suddenly she picks one of the lifeless body. After that, she rips the head of that body, and then throws the head to Suyuk's fellow agent Jihyuk, and as Jihyuk catches the head, Snow White throws some sort of weird supernatural power, which penetrates through the head of the lifeless body and goes through Jihyuk's head too, and he also got taken out by that. By seeing that, the other agent was fired up, and he charges towards the target, Snow White. But Suyuk tries to stop him from doing that, because Suyuk understood that the target was not ordinary, but the other agent didn't listen to him, and as he was running towards Snow White, she again throws the same power and takes the other agent's life the same way. After that, Snow White told Suyuk that no matter how many bugs gather, they are still bugs. Hearing that, Suyuk was furious. She further asks Suyuk what he thinks he can do about this, and starts laughing. Suyuk then thinks that, in this situation, he needs to be calm. After that, he thinks that he can't go back like this, even though that entity is beyond his capability. But he shouldn't go back like this. After that, Suyuk tries to attack Snow White, but she was absolutely out of his reach. But we get to see that Suyuk didn't give up, and he again charges towards Snow White, but she grabs his face and then slams him on the ground, and Suyuk thinks that it actually is getting impossible for him, and that what kind of power is this? Then we see that Snow White jumps and crashes Suyuk's legs. She then mounts him, and shoves her knife in his hands, and says that she actually likes him. That's why she is getting even more excited, and that fact alone makes this more fun for her at this point. Suyuk after that says taking other people's life must be fun for her, and Suyuk reaches towards her and bites her neck. He then pulls the knife from his hands and shoves it into her neck, which makes her fall over him. Suyuk thinks that he has taken his revenge, and that at last she is finished. Suyuk after that apologizes to his mate, and also adds that he will also be joining them soon. But all of a sudden, Snow White wakes up, and she starts laughing at him. We can see that her wounds are getting healed up, by seeing that Suyuk questions just what in this world is she even made, and in response to that, Snow White says that, even though he is a human, she was impressed by the neck bite. After that, Snow White told him that it is pointless to even try to understand, and that she hopes that Suyuk manages to do it. After that, we see that she takes his life. Then Snow White's men came into the room, and she told them to clear the bodies, and she also added that, now she will be returning to Japan. Back in the present time, we see that Snow White's people are on the boat. They are saying to each other that Suyuk is an unlucky guy, because he passed away just like that. But suddenly they realized that he was moving, and they were shocked by that. We then get to see, Suyuk says that he will now be going after that wicked lady Snow White. Some constructive context is then added, as in the flashback, it is seen that Suyuk again said in his mouthpiece to all the team members to approach the main target. According to Suyuk, everybody in the room is going to be under the influence of drugs, so it should be easy for them to take them out. Suyuk asks his team members to block all the exits and finish them all. But this time, as he entered the room, it was empty, and no one was there. Suyuk was stunned, then he wondered where everyone was, but all of a sudden, he was grabbed from behind Snow White. After that, we get to see that Snow White pulls Suyuk and whispers in his ear, and she says, Suyuk has succeeded, and now he is the Day Walker. Back at the present time, we get to see a blooded and brushed up Suyuk wakes up, and he finds out that his head is hurting. Then he realizes that he is in the middle of the sea, on a boat. Suyuk wonders what he was doing there. We also find out that the boat was full of lifeless bodies. Suyuk was flabbergasted by that, and he wondered what just happened there. Suddenly, two officers arrive at the boat. They address Suyuk as their team leader, and tell him that they're from the headquarters. Then they ask Suyuk to go with them. The scene then shifts to a car, in which Suyuk and the other two officers are heading towards the headquarters. A stunned Suyuk asks those two officers that, what happened on that boat, to which one of them replied, that they are also unaware of that, and that they are investigating that as well. All those guys know is that Suyuk has completed the mission. After that, one of them also asks Suyuk that if he was tried, and if so, then he should just take a nap, because the journey to the headquarters was not that short. so along the way he can get some well-needed sleep, to which Soo-hyuk says that he was absolutely fine and that they don't have to worry about him. But suddenly we see that those guys put on some sort of toxic gas, and they put on their anti-smoke mask. Soo-hyuk was having a very hard time with the gas, and at that time they called the director of Soo-hyuk's agency, and told him that they have secured the specimen. Upon hearing that, the director then told them that it was a great work that they have done, and now they should bring him to the lab, so that they can start with the dissection. After the director disconnected the phone, we can see he was very happy, and he started laughing, and after that he said that he finally got that thing that he always wanted. The car in which they were bringing Soo-hyuk has just arrived at the lab. Seeing that car arrive at the place, the director orders the researchers to gather around. After that, the director also told everyone to quickly get him in the lab, because they will have to conduct many experiments with Soo-hyuk. After that we see that, as one of the researchers opens the trunk of the car, they find out that Soo-hyuk has taken the lives of those 2 officers, who were bringing him to the lab. Then all of a sudden we get to see that Soo-hyuk is shooting everyone there, and then taking them down. Seeing all this, the director was shocked, and he thought that what in the world had just happened there, and then he sees Soo-hyuk stepping out of the car, reloading his gun. Seeing that visual, the director was scared for his life, and then he started running for his life. The director was seen shouting, and he was saying to all the units to eliminate Soo-hyuk. Afterward, we got to see that all the units came rushing towards Soo-hyuk. All of them tried their best, but to no avail. Soo-hyuk was just too good for them, and that there was just no match for this mountain of a man called Soo-hyuk. After that, Soo-hyuk one by one takes them all out, but suddenly one of the agents from a long distance has just shot Soo-hyuk on the head, and he was down. Then those guys thought that they had just subdued him, so they went up to check on him. But as they got closer to Soo-hyuk, they shot him in the head and killed them just like that. Then one of the other guys, who was an agent, thinks that he definitely shot him in the head, but then how was he still alive and moving like that? Soo-hyuk then puts him in a headlock and after that tells him that he and his team dedicated their lives to the country, and this is the reward he is getting from the director of the organization. So now he will show them how vicious the dog they abandoned can be, and he takes that agent's life, and starts walking towards the director, and we can see that the director was really very scared for his life, as he saw him coming towards him. After that, we get to see that Soo-hyuk is coming towards the director. Then we see Soo-hyuk is saying that he has been 2 or maybe 3 times less alive at that point of time, and that he just doesn't understand what is happening to his body, but he is certain of one thing, that as an agent he gathers information and eliminates enemies. A scared director then says to Soo-hyuk that he should now calm down, and that he will explain everything to him, and after that he also adds that there were some circumstances that came forward, so that's why he did what he did, and now he is sorry for that. The director is now ready to give Soo-hyuk his next promotion, so he should now just put down the gun. But Soo-hyuk shot the director in the legs. Then Soo-hyuk told him to shut up and then listen to his questions and answer them properly. But the director keeps on saying that, what did he just do to him and stuff like that. So because of that, unless they talk, Soo-hyuk shoots him in the leg again. Afterward, the director says that he knows Soo-hyuk's questions, even if he dies he comes back to life, and his wounds heals quickly. So why that happens, that was the question that Soo-hyuk actually wanted to ask the director, and he asks to Soo-hyuk that isn't that right. Soo-hyuk responded to that by saying yes. The director then says, it's absolutely like Anna or Snow White and her subordinates. After that, the director says that those guys reached the top of Japan despite being a new force, probably thanks to that technology. So that's why they also wanted to obtain that technology. Soo-hyuk asked the director that, so that was the reason behind their mission, to which the director replies by saying yes. But instead of getting any information, all those agents were finished, so that's why the plan was revised, and then the organization decided to send a reliable agent, so that's why they sent Soo-hyuk. So just as the Snow White entered Korea, she also brought that technology with her, so that's why from now on, even with dangerous missions, Soo-hyuk doesn't have to worry about injuries. Then we see that he further goes on to say that the team leader actually has worked really hard, so that's what the director says, that he thinks Agent Soo-hyuk is a real-life hero. As the director says that, Soo-hyuk shoots him in the shoulder, and we can see that the director was screaming in pain, and after that, the director further asks that he has told Soo-hyuk everything that he knew about, so why is he still shooting him? In response to that, Soo-hyuk says to the director that, talking about being a hero, when the director was planning to use Soo-hyuk as his test subject, did the director even know about Snow White? And that if there were continued casualties, then the director should have gathered more information. After that, Soo-hyuk also adds that all the agents lost their lives because of the director's greed, and that, according to Soo-hyuk, his colleagues could have been saved. And in reply to that, the director says, according to him, for example, he says that Soo-hyuk might have some sort of superhuman abilities, and those Yakuza were just people too, and they said that they won't lose to people, and that it's their job to be on a mission. So they only lost their lives because they were on an impossible mission. After saying those things, the director further adds that they even gave them medals when they lost their lives, so what else does Soo-hyuk want from him? And why is he making a fuss with him and the director cursing at Soo-hyuk? By hearing that, Soo-hyuk was really furious at the director, and then we got to see that Soo-hyuk kicked the director in the jaw, and the director went flying back. After that, he further adds that the director shouldn't say another word from his mouth. Afterward, we get to see Soo-hyuk says that the director is now going to understand those agents' pain, and as he said that, we get to see that he pulls his knife out. After that, Soo-hyuk says the night is going to be long for the director, and he charges towards the director. Seeing this, the director was really scared for his life, and he asked Soo-hyuk to just wait for a second. As we see, Soo-hyuk was about to stab the director with a knife. The police arrived at the place, and they then asked Soo-hyuk to drop his weapon and surrender to them immediately. By seeing that, the director was quite relieved to see the police there, but he also wonders, after calling them, why does it take so long for them to come to the scene? After that, we can see that there are a lot of police who arrived there, and they all took their shooting positions, and they're all ready to shoot at Soo-hyuk. Soo-hyuk then understands that the situation is really getting out of his hands and dangerous at the same time, so he at that point of time thinks that he actually needs to find cover quickly, and Soo-hyuk tries to run away from that place, and after realizing the situation, the police had no other option but to open fire at Soo-hyuk. After that, we find out that Soo-hyuk got shot multiple times in the chest, and he fell on the ground face first. Police then orders to cease fire, and the police after that slowly approached towards Soo-hyuk's body, but at the same time, the director started saying he was looking all high and mighty, and within a few seconds, he just got served, and further adds that he now just needs to be tied up for life, and give them his blood gladly. Then we can see the director started laughing at Soo-hyuk, and said that the team leader has worked hard, in a taunting way. But all of a sudden, the director realized that, watching them, and after that, he realized it is another member of the Yakuza, and the director remembers that it is actually Squad Leader 7 Aaka. After realizing that it was Leader 7 Aaka, the director started panicking, and in that state of panic, he orders the police to shoot Aaka too, and they did as the director told them to do. But Aaka was no ordinary person, and she just went against all those bullets with just a knife. The police tried all their best, but it was of no use. Not only did she dodge or block all those bullets, but she also cut them down. By seeing her skills, the police were stunned, and one of the police also wondered that what kind of monster she was. After that, we get to see that she single-handedly demolished all those police officers that were there, and she went up to the director. The director was scared for his life, and he bowed down at her feet. But it was not the director that she went up to. It was Soo-hyuk that she came for. Soo-hyuk then slowly comes back to his consciousness, and Aaka asks him that, if he was Soo-hyuk, and also adds that the Lady Anna asked for Soo-hyuk to be brought in. But in reply to that, a furious Soo-hyuk abused her. Then she further goes on to say that it wasn't actually bringing Soo-hyuk in, but instead it was brought Soo-hyuk to her. And suddenly we see Soo-hyuk stands up, and he starts fighting with Aaka, with his knife, and he does some flashy moves on her with the knife, and she says to Soo-hyuk that she is quite impressed with his moves. While this was happening, Soo-hyuk thinks that he has lost too much blood, and the longer the fight drags on, the worse it's going to get for him. And while he was thinking that, Aaka suddenly stabbed him with her knife, and following that she said gotcha. But suddenly out of nowhere we see Soo-hyuk pulls his knife, and cuts that girl's head off. After that we can see Soo-hyuk lying on his back, and he says that he won. Then he also adds that his mind is fading, and Suyok thinks that he is losing his life again, and he closes his eyes. Aaka then all of a sudden wakes up, with her head in her hands, and she then says to Soo-hyuk that he has done well, and she is quite impressed with his heart, willpower, and skills. After that, Aaka puts her head back, but Soo-hyuk thinks that his body is not listening to him and is not moving, otherwise he would have taught Aaka a great lesson. Aaka then puts her sword in Soo-hyuk's guts, and she says that, when Soo-hyuk will wake up, he will be in front of Lady Anna. With that being said, she also adds, Soo-hyuk's blood supply has been cut off, but he is still conscious and moving, and that really impressed her a lot. Afterward, Aaka told Soo-hyuk that they should now return before it gets too late. After that we get to find out that Soo-hyuk still tries to stand up. By seeing that, Aaka was stunned, and she asks Soo-hyuk that if he can still stand up. Soo-hyuk then stands up, and he charges towards Aaka, and she said that there is no point trying that. Soo-hyuk throws a right cross to Aika's face, but she does that blow. Following that, she said that was the most foolish thing she had ever seen. Soo-hyuk then tries his best to get Aaka down, but he missed by little every time. But Soo-hyuk was not going to give up. He was putting his heart and soul to defeat Aaka, and at one point in the battle, we get to see that Soo-hyuk jumped across and bit Ayaka's hand, and he bit her so hard that he ripped her hand off of her shoulder. After that, Aaka thinks that at this rate she is going to lose everything, but on the other hand we can see that Soo-hyuk was fired up, and he was filled with rage, so much so that, at one point he has become like some sort of animal, and by seeing that, Aaka said that, "What on earth is that?" and she was scared. Aaka then started to spin her sword like a wheel, and she was about to attack Soo-hyuk, but suddenly someone just shot her in the stun by that, and she thought, who did that to her? After that, we see a bunch of men surrounds Aaka, and a woman then enters the scene. She then says father in the havens, and that they are sending these two up. That mysterious girl then asks her guys to shoot at them, and as they start doing that, she further instructs them to aim for their legs. After that she told her guys to stop, and asked them to burn Aaka. Afterward, one of her guys points a peculiar gun at Soo-hyuk, and we after that can see that he shot him with that gun multiple times, and Soo-hyuk got electrocuted by that gunshot. On the other hand, we see the sun is rising, and because of that Aaka is getting burned. That mysterious girl asks Aaka that, if that is painful, and she further goes on to say that the hellfire will be twice as hot, and she is making a fuss about this. After that she says that Aaka is going to be finished by her, and soon her friends are going to be too. On the other hand, one of her guys says that after being hit by that gun, Soo-hyuk is still standing. She then told her guys to stop, but she was surprised by the fact that, why is he unaffected under the sun? And as she looks at Soo-hyuk, Aaka thought that this was the perfect time for her to Skype the place, and she then ran away from there. But the lady in the black didn't chase her. Instead she was surprised by the fact that how did the sunlight was ineffective to Soo-hyuk's body, and after being through all of this, how was he even standing at his 2 feet? As she was wondering about all of those things, Soo-hyuk suddenly attacks one of her men, but she then pulls off some sort of magic trick, which indeed calms Soo-hyuk down, but she is now certain that Soo-hyuk is more dangerous than Aaka. She after that tries to cut Soo-hyuk's hand with her holy sword, but Soo-hyuk blocks it, and then he throws a right cross punch to her face, but somehow he slips. That girl in black says that, good thing was that she didn't finish off Soo-hyuk earlier. She after that throws a thunderous punch and knocks Soo-hyuk off. Afterward, she wonders that, why she didn't find Soo-hyuk earlier. The scene then challenges, and we get to see that Soo-hyuk is regaining his consciousness, and he hears that some are calling him by saying team leader Soo-hyuk. After a while, he realizes that it was the voice of his commander. Soo-hyuk tries to wake up. He can't because he was wrapped with chains. After that, the lady in black says Kim Soo-hyuk should listen to her very carefully. And after that, she also adds that she considers Soo-hyuk's conduct, and therefore, she and her team members decided to take his life, because he has become a vampire, and by hearing that, Soo-hyuk was stunned. Soo-hyuk, in all shock, asks the lady in black if she is for real. Then he further adds that there is no such thing like that, and that she was only pulling his leg. By hearing that, the lady in black came closer to Soo-hyuk, grabbed Soo-hyuk's chin, pulls his face up. She after that bites her finger until blood came out. Seeing that Soo-hyuk suddenly felt thrust, he realized that he can't control himself, and he said that he actually wants to drink that blood. Afterward, the lady in black told him that, if he believes her now, Suyuk was like, what happened there, and that he can't believe that, but that seems true to him. The commander enters the scene, and he tells Suyuk that he actually has a video of Su Hyuk rampaging on the ship, and the bodies were exactly as the lady described, the commander says. Suyuk asks the commander that if he was saying that, he was responsible for all those lives taken. The commander in reply said that, it's sad but true at the same time.